Hi everyone, Paul here again. Today's video is about a little situation I had with the locks on my tender on Edenismo. If you've watched my previous videos, especially the walkthrough video, I go over a little bit about the security system that I put on Edenismo. It's quite the security system. I've got state-of-the-art FLIR cameras and electronic walls, lights and sirens, and a little bit of everything. I also did a lot of security even on the tender. It's got an alarm and electronic eyes and things built into it. Also, can call me if anything's going on with it or anybody tries to board the vessel. I get messages and can deal with it in real time. One of the things I did do is I also looked into if you go somewhere with the tender and you want to lock it up, I wanted to use the strongest locks and chains that I could, because a lot of the ones that people use today they give you kind of a false sense of security. They can be defeated very easily with small cable cutters, and within a few seconds, literally, you can defeat those locks. So the first thing I did was I researched the best chain to use, and I came up with a company called PWAG, and they make a security chain that is actually square links. And one of the things that does for you is it keeps people from being able to use cable cutters because of the square shape. They don't work very well on square chain. So I also got fairly large chain. It's 12 millimeters, almost half-inch thick. So the only way to really cut through this chain is with a torch or an angle grinder of some kind. And if you look at some of their videos, it takes 15, 20 minutes even with a grinder to get through the chain. So someone would have to really want to get your dinghy in order to go through all that trouble, not to mention the noise and the attention they would bring to themselves. So in addition to the chain, I had to find a lock that was equally strong, because as the cliche goes, you're only as strong as the weakest link. So I found a company called Abloy. They're made in Sweden, and they make amazing locks that are hardened steel, chrome plated. The ones I have are actually waterproof. They have a cap on them. They're good underneath the water, so they're good for the saltwater environment. They have what they call a Protect 2 locking cylinder, which has been tested to be pick-proof. You can't drill through it. You just basically can't open this lock once you lock it. It comes with a special key that can't be duplicated, and it's a pretty amazing lock system. So I have that on my dinghy, and of course, as luck would have it, I guess I got the one lock that they've made that had a failure to it. The other day, I tried to unlock the padlock to get my dinghy in the water, and the key wouldn't turn. So I assumed it was just some kind of corrosion that got in there, saltwater environment, even though it's not supposed to corrode. Maybe something happened. So I used everything I could. I sprayed it with every kind of lubricant and rust inhibitor I could possibly get in there, and it wouldn't work. I got the key to turn all the way, but whatever mechanism was in there would not release the shackle. So I called the people who sold me the locks, and we discussed it. We tried a few other things, and basically they came to the same conclusion that, nope, there's no way of getting this lock open. Locksmiths can't pick it. There's really nothing else you can do. So I was left with having to cut the shackle off with a grinder. And of course, the way these locks are designed, you can't just cut through once. You have to cut through both sides of the shackle in order to get the actual lock to release. So it meant not just one, but two cuts that I had to do on it. Each cut can take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. So I really didn't know what was going to entail, but I went out and got the best diamond cutting metal blade I could find. I protected the boat the best I could. You'll see in the video, the lock is literally laying right on top of the teak. I had very little room for error. One little slip and I could cut the teak. I could damage the tender. So I protected it the best I could. I used my own, basically I tried to protect myself too. I have fireman sleeves that protect you from burns. I have a full face shield, rubber gloves, heat resistant gloves. Everything I could do to try to protect myself and the vessel when I was doing the grinding. So I hope you like it. It's not the most entertaining video, but I tried to edit it down to just showing you the highlights of it. And it probably took, if you take out all the preparation and all the actual cutting, was probably about 10 minutes to get the lock off. Everything went pretty well. No real tragedies. The actual diamond blade was amazing. I didn't realize very little sparks, very little problem. And I used absolutely no force on it at all. I just let the weight of the grinder just cut right through it and just be patient, and it worked out pretty well. So I hope you liked the video to give you an idea of what kind kind of security locks I did put on it, what's involved if they do have a failure. And if you have any questions about any of the products I've used or where I got the locks or the chain, feel free to leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you like the videos, please like and subscribe to my channel. If you click the notification bell, you'll get the first notice of whenever I post new videos. I still have about another 6 or 8 months to go before I actually get out on the water. I'm retiring at the end of the year. And then I'll be doing some more videos of entertaining nature where we'll be traveling to the Bahamas, Caribbean, French Polynesia, Australia, New Zealand, and Asia eventually. Probably a 5 to 7 year journey. So hopefully you'll like it and you'll have some more fun videos to watch. Hope you enjoy this one, and see you next time. Thanks. This is the Abloy padlock that I use for Edenismo. You'll notice it's very hefty, almost a ½ inch shackle on it. It's made to be used under the water. It's got a watertight cap on it. They make all different sizes and for all different applications, but highly recommended. They're an amazing lock, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. This is the special security key that can't be duplicated. Some of the recommended safety equipment whenever using a grinder would be a full face shield, keep you from any sparks and any kind of debris that might kick back from the items that you're cutting. These are fireproof, flame retardant sleeves. I use these even when I'm working in the bilges. They keep you from getting scratched, they keep you from getting hurt from any kind of heat, any sparks. You're completely protected when you're wearing these. I highly recommended. I use them all the time on the boat. This is the diamond tipped metal cutting blade that I use. There are several different types. I was very happy with this one, especially formulated for metal. This was the project location. You could see the very little room to operate there. The lock is literally sitting right on top of the teak. So I had to make sure I protected the deck and the tender from any kind of damage that could be occurring from the grinding. I was a little concerned about possibly damaging the teak or the paint on the tender. So I just put down a little bit of cardboard and tried to tape it off the best that I could. Then I took some plastic and put that around the chain and up and protected where the sparks might be flying on the tender. I was expecting a little bit more in the sparks area, but luckily it wasn't too bad, and whatever little protection I put down worked very well. This was actually my first use of a grinder ever in my life, so I decided to start off with a little bit of a small project. I thought I did everything correctly and put it all together, read all the directions, and began to start my grinding adventure. It looked like it was going to work really, really well. I was really happy with the way the blade was cutting, very little pressure, and it was cutting very well. And then, you'll notice here in a second, no one told me about using a spanner wrench to make sure that the locking cap was on securely. I thought hand tight was going to be good enough, and as you'll see here, not so much. About a minute into my cutting adventure, I got a little bit of a surprise. Oops, I hate when that happens. Well, that was embarrassing, but I kept a good attitude about it. Proceeded to call a couple of divers that I knew in the area and found one that would come over and try to dive to find my locking cap. Unfortunately, after about 2 hours and $100, the cap was nowhere to be found. I guess the bottom in that marina is very soft, mucky, and there was no way that was going to be found. So plan B was to drive to the Home Depot and see if I could find a replacement. and sure enough, they had a standard locking cap that worked. So this time, putting the blade back on with the spanner wrench and made sure it was very tight, I proceeded to try to make my first cut. The biggest problem with this is the area that I was working with. With the tender right above me, the swim platform there, I couldn't really move around much because I would be either in the water or no room with the tender. So I had to make sure that I could cut the shackle and not cut through the teak or not cause any other damage while I was doing it. So actually positioning the lock and getting it to be where I could cut it was the hardest part of the whole job. But I was really surprised that that diamond blade, as you see, had very, very few sparks, and there was absolutely no pressure needed. You just use the weight of the grinder, and that's actually the best way to cut. If you put too much force on it, you run the risk of breaking the blade and causing some damage. So it was just a little bit of patience. It took about almost 5 minutes to cut through. Had to reposition the lock a few times to get a better angle on it. But all in all, it went through pretty well. But you can see if someone was trying to steal the dinghy and had to do all this, obviously they wouldn't worry about protecting the surfaces, but even just cutting through with a brand new diamond blade takes about 5 minutes to cut through, and you have to cut through twice in order to release the actual shackle. So all in all, I don't think anybody will be stealing this dinghy. They'll go on to a little bit of an easier target. So all in all, other than losing the locking cap and getting a little delay in that area, the first cut actually went really well. I was able to position the lock where I could get to it easily. Unfortunately, the second cut proved to be a little bit more challenging. There's really very little room to maneuver the lock because by design I made the shackle and the chain and the D-ring all fit in there very tightly so that you can't get tools in just for this purpose to make it very difficult to cut off. Unfortunately, when you do need to do it, it makes it even that much harder. So trying to get the lock turned around where I could cut it and not cut through any of the other D-ring or the actual teak on the boat was the challenging part. Once I got into a position, tried a few different ways, little by little it wound up working fine. So once I cut through, I was really happy, really no damage or any other problems, and was able to get the lock removed. Hopefully the new lock that I use won't have the same problems. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, and hopefully when I get on the water, I'll have something a little bit more entertaining for you. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a great day.